Hello and welcome to TianquiztliCreations podcast. My name is Elle. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. And if you're new to our podcast, welcome. On today's episode, we are going to be diving into Aztec mythology. Now, as you all know, this is a big part of my culture. I actually was inspired by a lot of Aztec mythology when I created my brand, which is Thankitli Creations. And Thankitli stands for marketplace, which is why if you pull up our website, you'll see a variety of items on there. Anything from books that I write to notepads that I design, jewelry that I make or import from Mexico, and so many more things. Because ultimately, my brand is a little bit of everything. There's actually a whole episode that I made a few months ago in regards to how I got my brand started and more about what inspired me. But let's move on to our episode today. So, the Aztecs who lived in ancient Mexico believed in a complex system of afterlife realms that were connected to their religion and mythology. One of these realms was the Aztec underworld known as Mictlan. Mictlan was a dark and dangerous place ruled by the god Mictlan and his wife, Mictecacual. The Aztecs believed that the souls of the dead had to journey through Mictlan in order to reach their final destination, which depended on the way they had their lives. So basically, if you were maybe not such a nice person, then you probably would have been destined to something completely different from someone who was very nice. That's a simple way to put it. The journey through Mictlan was not an easy one. The Aztecs believed that the underworld was divided into 9 levels, each of which had its own challenges and obstacles. The first level was the easiest to pass through, but the challenges became more difficult as the soul progressed deeper into the underworld. In order to help the souls of the dead navigate Mictlan, the Aztecs would bury their dead with various offerings and tools that were believed to be useful in the afterlife. For example, they would bury their dead with food, water, and clothing, as well as weapons and tools to help them navigate the underworld. The Aztecs also believed that the dead had to face various trials and challenges in order to reach their final destination. For example, the soul had to cross a river that was guarded by a fierce dog and pass through a cave filled with sharp knives that could slice their bodies. The final destination of the soul depended on the way the person had lived their life. The Aztecs believed that those who had lived virtuous lives would go to a realm known as Tla- Tlatocan, where they would enjoy eternal happiness and abundance. Those who have lived dishonorable lives, on the other hand, would be condemned to an eternity of suffering in the underworld. Also, definitely excuse me because some of these words are hard to pronounce, and I looked them up, and I tell you, every time I, I record these episodes, I look up the word, I think I have it, and then I start talking about the subject, and my brain just completely loses the pronunciation. So bear with me. I'm trying. Now, when I was doing my research on Mictlan, it actually reminded me of something similar in regards to the underworld that came from Egyptian mythology. And you all may be familiar with something like this, especially if you're big on like movies that are made um, in regards to Egyptian mythology, whether it's a movie or show. But this really reminded me of this one show that recently came on Disney Plus. And I think it's more like a Marvel character as well. I'm not like a huge Marvel fan, to be honest. I watch the movies, but this specific show I was really interested in, which I think it was just because of the Egyptian folklore around it. And it was Moon Knight. So Moon Knight kind of talks about um the whole how you live is how you spend the rest of eternity. So the underworld for the Egyptians was trying to remember if I remember what it was called. I think it's Duat, And in one of the episodes of the show, there's this what they call like a balancing scale, right? So, the balancing scale basically determines whether you're a good person or a bad person and whether you're going to be suffering in the afterlife or you're going to be having a great time. So, very similar to what the Aztecs believed as well. So, overall, the Aztec Underworld was a complex and terrifying place filled with obstacles and challenges that the souls of the dead had to overcome in order to reach their final destination. Again, I think that a lot of the mythology behind really ancient cultures like the Egyptians or the Aztecs really shaped how we even live today. I don't think this is very far out to say certain religions are very much the same. If you're Christian based or Catholic based, like I used to be or I was raised, you would go to hell if you were a bad person and you would go to heaven if you're a good person. I say I used to be because I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore. I don't think you can be. And I don't think, in honestly, you can be a practicing Catholic and then research all the things that I research and watch and listen to. To be honest. If you do, hey, you are great at balancing that. But I know that the way that I was raised growing up and how I used to have to go to church and like Sunday school and all that, like my parents would not approve. I mean, right now I'm an adult. I do what I want, right? They don't care what I do. However, the entire concept of it is pretty much you can take it back to the Aztecs or the Egyptians and then still have similarities on certain religions today. It was a great, you know, um, great experience just getting into a little bit of the Aztec culture with this episode. And there's so much more that I want to go ahead and bring into future episodes because there is more than one deity out there that honestly, it's just amazing. Not only the stories behind these deities, but also how the Aztecs came to be and their beliefs. Some of it, yes, gruesome, like sacrifices and all that, but other things, like they made do what they had, and they're very intelligent human beings. So we have plenty of more episodes coming on as we dive a little bit more into the Aztec mythology, and of course, you'll have me doing a little bit more research on everything and sharing with you what I find. As always, thank you for joining me for another episode, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.